What's going on, guys? Kenny here from 619 Guitars and Gear, and I want to welcome you to a new project. As you previously seen the last series, we finished up the Star Wars themed NK headless. That thing turned out awesome. It's sitting right here in front of me, hanging on the wall while I'm recording this voiceover. And yeah, I love that thing. Turned out great. But I was also super excited to get it done and move on. So I picked up this LTD body and neck. I'll put the model in the description. And yeah, we got it for a great price. And the body definitely had a lot of damage. So did the neck. But I knew it would all be able to be saved, and I wasn't worried about any of it. So I filled in there was a chunk missing out of the body. I filled that in with some putty, and then sealed it in with some CA glue. And yeah, I'm not planning on staining this thing or anything, so we're not taking it down to bare wood. Basically just going to smooth out and sand the existing factory finish and dole it out to where it's able to accept a sandable primer sealer, and basically just wanted to get it all prepped for that. So I used a palm sander with, I believe, 220 grit on the front and back, and then I did the sides and all the tight spaces with just by hand with the same grit. I was going back and forth with 500, 220. Usually started with 220 and then moved to 500, which is a little bit finer. And yeah, the top horn where the strap button goes is definitely, the hole is ravished. It's all cracked and it's just a mess. So I was tossing around some ideas in my head of reshaping this thing. But I just basically wanted to get it prepped, and that was going to be first. And then we'll move on to maybe reshaping and what options we're going to use for the whole final finish and everything later. So I used some Scotch-Brite to get into the little crevices that you can't, where the knobs go. And then we moved on to the neck. The neck had a lot of damage on it also. You can see those big chips missing. They were into the wood a little bit. There was a quilted maple veneer on the headstock itself. So I didn't know what route I wanted to go with that. And since there was those chunks missing, I was like, you know what, I'm just going to sand the existing finish completely off of the headstock. Whether we're going to restain the neck and stain the headstock or paint match everything. I just wanted to get it off because of those two chunks. It would have been hard to blend it in. So it's just easier to take it all down to bare wood and smooth it out. And then we'll use like a Cricut or a Cry-Cut, however you want to pronounce it, to make a new logo. So I'm not really worried about that. I've done that plenty of times. And yeah, once we got the little palm sander with 220 grit again to smooth everything out, you couldn't even tell that those two chunks were missing because yeah, it smoothed out really, really well. And they weren't that deep. One of the spots kind of went down past the veneer that they put on from the factory, but it really wasn't a big deal. We were able to smooth everything out. And you can see the existing maple that they used under that. So no problems there. Just got it prepped. I'm going to take the nut off and sand the rest of it off. So here it is. I belong to this group called LTD Guitar Owners. You guys are awesome. So shout out to all you guys. I really enjoy being in that group. And everyone's super cool. Probably the best guitar group I belong to. But you can see I wrote the Sharpie marks on the guitar where I was thinking about reshaping. And I posted seeing what opinions you guys would have. It was 50-50, a lot of mixed opinions, but a lot of people said go for it and seemed to be interested in the reshaping. So you know what? We got the saw out, and then, yeah, there was no turning back now. Got the jigsaw, and we cut that horn right off. A little bit anxiety doing that, but I've done this before in the reshaping aspect. And yeah. As long as you don't go too far, you can always manipulate your way around reshaping and you'll be fine. So I left a little bit overhang and then did the rest of the shaping with a coarse file. And yeah, it worked out really, really well. It's kind of like a modern telly take, if you will. Not as like fat and round as a telly top horn would be, but yeah, it turned out really good. Definitely a modern twist. And as far as the bottom horn, you can see the Sharpie marks. I didn't put that on camera, but I did shave about an inch off the bottom horn just so it's a tad shorter than the top one, because on a telly, it always is a little bit shorter. I didn't want to keep it long, and then it would have looked a little bit weird. But honestly, after getting it sanded and reshaped and rounding off the edges, I sealed it in with some CA glue. The transitions from wood to where there was still finish were nice and smooth. By the time I sealed it in with CA glue, and then we got the original, paint sanded down around those areas, I knew once I got the sealer on this thing, you weren't even going to be able to tell that, honestly, that it wasn't like that from the factory. Obviously, if you know your guitars and you know LTD didn't make a model like this, which obviously they've made tele models, but not to where the horn is that skinny, I should say. But if you don't know your guitars, you would think that it came like that from the factory just because it turned out really well. So I was excited about that. And then after sanding it and sealing it and sanding it, it was really, really smooth. And then, yeah, I knew, like I said, I knew as soon as I got the primer sealer on this thing that a nice good coat of that was going to fill in any other imperfections, and there would be no problems at all. So we got it dusted off, we blew off all the dust, and then we threw our first coat of primer sealer on. Now, I forgot to press record the first time, so sorry you didn't get to see the process of putting the first coat on, but this is like just finishing the first coat right here, and then we're going to let it dry. It does dry in a flat color, black. It's not going to be gloss, and it does look like it has a little bit of orange peel, but once it dried, it was really smooth as glass. You couldn't even tell, and it's going to get sanded anyway, so it doesn't really matter. So it looks really well. You could see how well the shape is. I really like it. It's definitely a new thing in my opinion, and it's different, and I'm all about different. So you can see now it dried and it's nice and flat black. And it's time to sand it. I just wanted to sand it, and there was still some little scratches and stuff that were coming through the sealer, and I just wanted to sand everything and get it prepped for another coat. And then after the last coat, I was going to fill in where the pickup ring mount holes are. I'm going to fill those in because I'm going to plan on direct mounting the pickups when I put them in. I was just never a fan of the pickup rings. I always like direct mounted pickups. It just looks better in my opinion, and it's just easier to work with. So here we are putting on the second coat of sealer, and yeah, it looks like it goes on gloss, but obviously it's just still wet, and you would think it would dry all rough and have a lot of orange peel. But the way this stuff works, when it dries, it's really, really super smooth. And you'll see here in the next clip just how smooth it looked. I was kind of blown away, to be honest. Really, really happy with how it turned out. It kind of looks really cool in the flat black. Even though this is just a sealer, I was like, man, I was kind of getting some ideas. You can see it looks really, really good. Kind of just looks like a factory flat black finish. But yeah, it's just a sealer. So now we're going to get those holes filled in. I'll probably do one more coat of sealer, and then we'll move on. So we'll save all that for the next video. I appreciate you guys checking this one out. Shout out to all you guys in the group for sharing your opinions. And yeah, we'll definitely see you in the next